but I do know, the basics. I mean, there's discovery. There's statutes based on whether it's an F1, F2, F3. Um, there's basics on, jury selection. So,
Okay. One of the issues with COVID, sir, is it makes it harder to represent yourself because of some of the restrictions that have to be in place to prevent the spread of the disease in the jail. So that's something you need to factor in as you decide whether to allow me to appoint the public defender's office.
I understand.
Um, are you familiar with how to conduct discovery and set depositions and generally investigate your case to prepare it for trial?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I mean, Your Honor, I need internet access to effectively represent myself, and I hope you will grant that while I'm in jail or release me. But I mean, but yeah, I mean, I do understand that, how discovery works. Essentially, I mean, my case is political, so I mean, it's a political cause. It's not like just a simple criminal case. Um, you know.
Let me continue to explain a few things for you. And I want you to understand, every time you come before the court, I'm going to try to advise you and suggest that you allow the public defender's office to represent you, because I really do think it's in any criminal defendant's best interest to have a lawyer.
Mhm.
So you understand, I can't give you any special treatment because you're representing yourself.
Yes.
You're not entitled to a continuance because you're representing yourself. In other words, if the state is ready to proceed, I can't grant a continuance just because you represent yourself. Um, you're going to have limited resources, particularly while you're in jail. Your access to an investigator may be limited. It may be harder for you to schedule depositions, discuss your matter with the state for negotiations. Access to the law library is limited. Do you understand all those things?
I do understand that. Based on my reading of the Constitution, and the constitutional rights that I'm entitled to, fair and legal proceedings, and I am constitutionally entitled to represent myself. I believe the state of Florida is violating the Constitution by not giving inmates internet access, to represent themselves. So I would request that you order the jail to grant me internet access. I think that's well within my constitutional rights to have equal, there, and obviously they have the facility to do that. But other than that, you know,
I understand. I have to admonish you that you have to, even when you're representing yourself, you have to abide by the rules of criminal procedure in the courtroom. If you don't, then I can appoint somebody to represent you against your decision to represent yourself. The same thing goes if you're disruptive in court. I can terminate your self-representation. Um, the state doesn't have to treat you any differently or any easier because you're representing yourself. This is very important. If you're ultimately convicted, you cannot claim ineffective assistance of counsel if you represent yourself. Um, do you understand the risks of moving forward representing yourself?
I do, Your Honor.
Um,
My only
you,
question to you is,
sure.
do you believe that I'm, based on your understanding of the Constitution, and my right to have, fair and legal representation, that that I'm at a disadvantage with the jail not granting me internet access?
Well, neither the Florida Constitution nor the United States Constitution guarantees you a right to internet access while you're in jail. Now, what you do have a constitutional right to is representation by an attorney, and the attorney who represents you would have internet access. So you can get internet access while you can get the advantages of internet access by having me appoint the public defender's office to represent you. But while you're in jail, you do not have a constitutional right to internet access. So the right guaranteed by the Constitution is the right to an attorney. like me to appoint an attorney for you?
No, Your Honor, not this time.
If you're ultimately convicted, you may have up to the maximum prison sentence imposed against you. You would have a criminal record. You could be deported if you're an immigrant to the United States, if you're not a citizen. You could possibly get an enhanced sentence.
Yes, I understand.
Understand all that?
Mm-hmm.
Would you like me to appoint standby counsel from the Office of Public Defender so that if you change your mind during these proceedings, that person can step in and represent you?
No, Your Honor, I don't. But with all due respect, I I mean, how am I going to file a motion for discovery when I don't even have a case number? I mean, it's to me, um, I'm gonna take it on the chin and fight for internet access for inmates later. But I mean, I don't even have a case number, so how would I file for discovery? I mean, just as a practical matter, we both know the Constitution guarantees a right for self-representation, but as a practical matter, it's just not that easy. You know.
Well, no, it's not that easy. That's why you also have a constitutional right to have an attorney appointed for you. Your case number is 16-2021-CF-212. You can file handwritten motions. Other pro se defendants do that. I'm going to ask you one more time before we proceed to your arraignment. Would you like me to appoint the Public Defender's Counsel to represent you? I think it would make things much easier for you.
No, Your Honor.
You understand, if the public defender represents you, you are still in charge of the decisions that get made in your case. Do you understand that?
I do, Your Honor. I do understand that.
Ms. Welch, hang on just a minute. At this time, Mr. Smith, I find that you do not suffer from severe mental illness to the point where you are not competent to conduct trial proceedings or pretrial proceedings by yourself. Now, I can revisit that decision at any time. I want you to understand that. And I can appoint counsel over your choice to represent yourself. At this time, we can proceed with your arraignment. Are you prepared to proceed with your arraignment?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Francis, has an information been filed?
Yes, Your Honor, information has been filed. There is one case that is pre-filing, and that is 21377. However, there were 3 cases and 2 were consolidated. And so the one on the calendar today is the one that is 21212. And in that case, Your Honor, speedy trial is 6/30/2021. Mr. Smith scores 26.80 points. And at this time, there is no state offer, because we are still trying to obtain restitution amounts from the victim and also confer with them.
What was the points again? I'm sorry.
26.80 points, Your Honor, 26.80.
Okay. At this time, Ms. Francis, could you read the information for Mr. Smith?
Yes, Your Honor, one moment to pull that up, please.
Mr. Smith, the state is going to read the charges that have been made against you in the information.
Oh, great.
Your Honor, the information reads that in the name of and by authority of the state of Florida, Melissa W. Nelson, State Attorney for the 4th Judicial Circuit of the State of Florida in and for Duval County, charges that count 1, Christian Gregory Smith on December 30th, 2020, in the County of Duval in the State of Florida, did willfully and maliciously injure or damage the real or personal property of United States Postal Service, such damage being more than $1,000, contrary to the provisions of Section 806.131B3 Florida statutes. Count 2, Christian Gregory Smith on January 2nd, 2021, in the County of Duval and the State of Florida, did willfully and maliciously injure or damage the real or personal property of Baptist Medical Center, such damage being more than $1,000, contrary to the provisions of Section 806.131B3 Florida statutes. Count 3, Christian Gregory Smith on January 2nd, 2021, in the County of Duval and the State of Florida, did knowingly obtain or use or endeavor to obtain or use construction material which was taken from a posted construction site, the property of IMC Construction, with intent to either temporarily or permanently deprive IMC Construction of a right to the property or benefit therefrom, or with the intent to appropriate the property to his own use or to the use of any person not entitled thereto, contrary to the provisions of Section 812.014 2C10 Florida statutes.
Thank you, Ms. Francis. Mr. Smith, as to count 1, how do you plead?
Plead not guilty.
As to count 2, how do you plead?
Not guilty.
As to count 3, how do you plead?
Not guilty.
Ms. Francis, just for Mr. Smith's information, can you advise as to the maximum penalties on each count?
Yes, Your Honor. Being that these are felonies of the 3rd degree, each count will have a maximum sentence of 5 years. And so with a total of 3 counts, just on this information alone, it would be a maximum of 5 years. However, as stated earlier,
You're fading out.
Scores 26.80 points. Also mentioned earlier is the fact that there is still one case that we're filing, as we're waiting on we're still conducting investigative matters before determining whether or not to file. So the ultimate score can vary based on whether or not that case is filed.
Okay. All right, Mr. Smith, that concludes your arraignment for today. Do you understand what we just did? Do you understand that the state has levied these charges against you and you've pled not guilty to them?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand the penalties that could be imposed against you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, that will conclude your arraignment. So what we're going to do now is set another date for pretrial. I would like to have you come back for additional pretrial on your matter. I'm going to specially set this for 8:45 on March 4th.
Okay, is the state attorney going to have a discovery ready by that point, or?
Well, this is again part of why
I know I have to file for it, but
correct.
Yeah, okay, I'll file for it.
Depend on when you file for it. All right, so March 4th at 8:45, we'll come back and deal with more pretrial issues. Anything else from the state?
Nothing further from the state, Your Honor.
You may be excused at this time, Smith.
Okay, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, in 4 East, could you state your name again, sir?
Jonathan Riddle.